Dude, it's a bad one.
Do I have COVID?
Now listen here, kid. No softball questions. All right? You got to play ball.
I'm gonna come.
Are we rolling?
No, never mind. Perfect as always.
Welcome back to the BFit Podcast interview series. Today, I'm super excited to be sitting with someone who's made an incredible fitness transformation. I mean, seriously, if you knew this guy a year ago, you really wouldn't recognize him today. Will, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, give us a little introduction. Like, where were you before you started training at BFit?
Yeah, so I've always been an athletic person. I grew up playing soccer and football and baseball. When I got in middle school, I got a little chubby. And then when I got to high school, I started going into weight training and I got in shape. And then after that, I used to go to a lot of commercial gyms like LA Fitness, and I'd work out with my friends there. And then I moved away for about 5 years for school, and then that's when I put on the pounds. And then I moved back and I discovered CrossFit, and I was doing that and it really clicked with me and I got in shape. And then I got married and had kids, so there was a lot of downtime there. So I gained some weight back. Yeah, and then I discovered BFit.
So what I hear you saying is every time you've had some sort of life change, whether it's college or starting a family or getting married, that usually tends to come with some sort of unintended consequence of maybe pushing fitness and health to the side a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely agree that I've put my fitness and health to the side because I had other responsibilities.
Yeah, I think a lot of people could relate to that. And that, I mean, every time I get a call here for a consultation, it's always the same story. It's like, oh, I X, Y, and Z, I used to be fit, or I used to be thin, and then I had these things happen, whether it be COVID happened, or, got married, or it started working for the first time, and I just put on weight, and before I knew it, it was like 10, 15, 20 pounds. So I'm sure a lot of people could relate to that story.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, do you remember what it felt like? Like, what did you feel like when you were like at your heaviest? Like right before you made the decision to, I need to make a change.
How I felt. I didn't say I felt disgusting, but I definitely wasn't comfortable in my own skin. Clothes that I would wear, I would have to wear the same clothes all the time because that's what I felt comfortable in, even though they didn't look great on me. Playing with my kids was kind of a chore. Be out of breath, or I couldn't keep up with them, and just aches and pains, and just living life was just harder.
Makes sense. And just for context, what was your weight and like body fat percentage approximately when you like at your heaviest, and what is it now?
Yeah, so at my heaviest, well, I guess I can't go back to there because I don't really remember, but
Because you've had some ups and downs.
Exactly.
Okay.
So like at the start of this year, during the first challenge, I believe I was like 256 and 31.9% body fat.
Who's counting?
Yeah. But as of this last challenge, I was down to 213 and a sub 16% body fat.
I think it was 15.8.
Yeah, 15.8.
Yeah, because I looked at your numbers not too long ago. So that's insane. So body fat is literally half of what it was.
Yep.
In less than a year.
Yeah.
That's impressive, man.
Thank you.
That's really a transformation. So you mentioned how you felt when you were at your heaviest before you made the decision, but what do you think was like the big push, the big motivator that like that's it, I have to make a change?
Yeah, I'm gonna be 40 next year. I know it's like gets progressively more difficult to lose weight as you get older. And I have two young daughters, and they look up to me, and I just thought about it. I said, how can I be a role model for my daughters if I can't even motivate myself to be in shape, healthy, living, healthy lifestyle? Like, how can I tell them not to eat a piece of candy if I'm eating a piece of candy? I have to be an actual role model and, lead by example.
Absolutely. I respect that as a fellow girl dad.
Girl dad.
Girl gang. So when you started this year, you mentioned the whole turning 40. Did you have any specific goals when you first set out to start this journey?
Well, so I had gotten to the point to where I was working out consistently at 5:30 in the morning with the 5:30 a.m. girlies.
Shout out,
and
Be Fit, small group training.
There you go.
Cricket.
Yep. And so I was consistent with that, and it was just around the time where you had the
Badass
badass
challenge.
challenge. And people were saying, well, Will, you gonna do it? You gonna do it? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna win it this time. Like, I'm gonna go all the way. I'm gonna go as hard as I can, and I'm going to win. No one is gonna beat me. And that's just what I did.
So let's go deeper into that, because from my experience, it's hard to make that flip of, yeah, a lot of people say they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna be consistent, you'll see, I'm gonna do 60 days, 30 days, whatever, but you actually followed through with it. So talk to me about that. What was your mindset when you were, because there's tough days and there's days where you don't feel motivated and you're tired and you didn't sleep enough. So what gets you up in the morning on those days? Like, what was that mindset like?
I just kept saying to myself that I didn't want to lose. I didn't want to be second place. I wanted it. I wanted everything. And the people in the chat, they're the greatest motivators, even though they don't realize it. My motivation
The haters
is
on the chat?
the haters. The more hate I got, the more it fueled my desire to win. And I just used that motivation, and I just kept doing it. I also had I had a note that I would look back at when I weighed in, and it was basically a picture of me with Elon Musk's face on it, and I would look
God,
back.
who took that? Who
Yeah,
would do
who
such
did
a
that?
thing?
So I would look back at that periodically, and that would remind me of why I was going as hard as I was.
So it seems like the motivator was both like a little bit of negative and a little bit positive. The positive being the role model, but the negative was like looking back at things like, this is what I don't want to continue being, right?
Exactly.
And is that fair to say that you were somewhere in between?
Yeah,
'Cause you don't have to
definitely.
be one or the other.
No, you can't be in the polar extremes.
So, but what's so you mentioned the challenge and you did win. And by the way, you're the first person in BFit history to win both challenges
Yep.
in a year. So, I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. But here's what interests me is that you did win the challenge. The challenge was 6 weeks long, but then you kept it up. And that's the real rare part, because a lot of people could do a 6-week challenge. Not very many could continue on the journey. So walk me through that. After the challenge is over, you win, you got what you wanted. Mm-hmm. What made you keep going?
So after the challenge was over, it was around beginning of summertime. Summertime was like right around the corner, and we had a trip planned for Europe. And I'm like, oh man, if I go to Europe, like all bets are off.
Yeah.
It's just gonna go off the rails.
Pasta our day.
Yeah. And I said to myself, I set a goal. I'm like, well, I'm already doing this. It's already a habit for me. Why don't I just try to keep going and just keep logging my calories, keep trying to exercise. Even when I was in Europe, I ran, besides all the walking, right? Because you do a lot of walking,
Yep.
and bread eating.
And the food is a lot healthier, let's face it.
Yeah, the quality is way better.
Yeah.
But I would just make sure that I had some physical activity while I was out there. I ran through the mountains. It was beautiful. So it wasn't really that hard to do.
Do you think it was something that you had seen so much progress that you didn't want to take a step back? Like, once you get to that point, you're like, man, I've worked so hard for this. I don't want to go backwards.
Yeah, there's that element too. I didn't want to revert back to my old ways after putting in all this work just to fall back, because I've fallen in that trap so many times, and I just didn't want to do it either. And also too, I did set a goal for myself, like a goal weight that I would like to get to. So I had that in my note on my phone that I would refer to, every so often.
That's great. It seems like you were using many of the tools that we recommend to keep you accountable and keep you like from falling off the wagon.
Yeah, definitely.
So walk me through, what was your routine like? I'm sure people are curious as to, okay, you had this huge transformation. How did you do it? Like, what exact type of training were you doing? How frequently? Like, walk me through like your week of training.
Sure. I'm going to talk about the last challenge, because that was probably more extreme than I recommend anyone going like as hard as I went.
And that's also because, for context, you're going to run a half marathon soon. So you were training for a half marathon.
Yeah. So I was running regularly with the BFit Run Club, unofficial, and someone had said like, "Hey, Will, why don't you do a half marathon?" I'm like, "There's no way I'm gonna do a half marathon. At most, I'd be fine doing is like a 5K. Like, that's cool."
Because at that point, what's the furthest in mileage that you had ran in one shot?
Maybe like 3 miles.
Okay.
For sure. That was probably
So
the
about a
longest.
5K.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like super comfortable with that. But then someone had said, hey, why don't you do a half marathon? There's one in December. You could start training for it soon, and by that time you'll be ready. And I said, all right, yeah, let's go ahead and let's go do it. So I started training for that, and then it just happened to coincide with the Be Fit in 35 challenge. And so I was running 3 days a week, and I'm not talking about like 5K distances. Like it was one day were interval sprints, another day was about an hour long run, and then at that time the longest run I did was probably about 2 hours or so.
Wow.
In addition to that, I was at BFit doing the group training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday.
Wow. And so, from an outsider standpoint, it feels to me like you went from running those 3 miles to all of a sudden, wow, this guy's running for 90 minutes. Like this guy's putting 5, 6 miles. So it's impressive how you were able to just, was that a mindset thing too? Like, let me just try to go a little more. Oh, let me just try a little bit more. And how much did the challenge play a role in that? Because of course you were competing at that point.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say this was healthy, and I don't recommend anyone do it because I can't, there's no way I could have kept it up.
Do it. I'm kidding.
There was no way I could have kept it up long term. I had a mindset that like I was going to win this one back to back.
Again.
I said I was going to win it, and then I had a lot of people that were my biggest motivators
Betting against you.
betting against me consistently, doubting that I was actually doing what I was doing, and it just fueled me even more to where I remember that you actually said one morning after I had done a run. It was about my first 80-minute run of this training cycle, and he's like, "Good luck to you guys. You're not going to beat the guy that's running 80 minutes."
Good luck to the rest of you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
So the lesson here, folks, is get yourself a bunch of haters. The more, the better it is.
yeah, if that's how you get motivated, the more haters you have will keep your motivation tank full.
So that's the cardio part. Let's talk about the strength training and the stuff you were doing at BFit.
Sure.
So you've done training on your own, and you've done many types of training. How important is it to have a program or a place where you have the accountability, you have classes, you have to sign up, you have a coach, you have all these things, and a group of people like keeping you accountable? Compare that to like, let's say when you were training on your own. Like, what's the difference?
So you do training on your own, you're pretty much YOLOing, right? I'd say like the best example is like, oh, it's Monday, so I guess I'll do
Chest day. International
day, right?
chest day, bro.
Yeah. Not doing legs on Monday. So you pretty much just go to the gym and you just YOLO it. You just figure out a rep range. You figure out how much weight you want to use, even if it's not ideal for you.
Yep.
Versus BFit, you have people to motivate you first of all, which is huge. So you have that community, and then you have a program you can follow that's going to help with not only your strength, but your mobility and your balance. And my balance, I think a lot of people's balance is not good from sitting down all day.
Yep.
And that was a huge thing for me. Like all the balance work we do, that's like slipped in there. Like you don't even realize you're doing it.
Yeah.
And that's huge. And you get that, and you get to be consistent by coming, and you know that every time you're gonna come, you're gonna be challenged across the whole spectrum.
I'm glad that you mentioned the balance and the mobility, because these are often things that are overlooked. And for trainers, we know the importance of that, and we're constantly preaching to our clients that we need to do all these things. But unfortunately, the majority of people, they're only thinking about the glamour muscles. They're thinking about aesthetics. Does this work my butt? What is muscles is this working?
Because it gets you laid.
Oh yeah, true. I'm not discounting that. However, it's not the only thing. You know, there's so much more that goes into a program, and we try really hard to have all these different components that you were talking about. Yeah. And I'm glad that at least some people, you know, appreciate it. All right, let's talk about what probably trips most people up: nutrition.
Sure.
What were the changes that you made from a nutrition standpoint? Like, what'd you do?
It's not easy. It's none of this is easy. And you have to have the right mindset. But I would literally cook all my food at home. I would try not to eat out. I would not drink. I would avoid the things in my house that I know would set me off, and that would be sweets. So I have a terrible sweet tooth. So like ice cream, candy, cookies. I would just avoid all that stuff. And then I would do the painstaking weighing all my food and using a calorie tracker. And I would do that day in, and I still do it.
What's the calorie tracker that you recommend?
I used to use MyFitnessPal, but they charge for it, and I didn't like that. I like free.
Yeah, they changed the free version a lot.
Yeah, the free is not. It's
not
terrible.
worth it anymore, right?
I use chronometer.
Awesome. Okay, and let me ask you, because you have 2 young kids, so do you not keep sweets in the house at all, even for them, or how does that work? Because that I mean, all the parents are probably listening, like, yeah, that's my problem.
Yeah. So we do have some sweets in the house. We try to, like, not limit the sweets, but like change the type of sweets they are.
Yep.
Because you're not going to eliminate it. They're going to get it at school. They're going to get it when they go to Abuela's house, or like Tio take them to freaking McDonald's and you don't even know about it.
Come on, Tio.
Someone's going to show up with sweet bagels one day.
Of course. I wonder who. Not Carlos Cruz.
Not that guy. God, those Krispy Kremes are so delicious, though.
Right? Can't have one. I can relate because we do the same thing. And, it's like we'll have like fruity popsicles in the house, but it's like, it's actual fruit. It's not artificial sweeteners or anything like that. So there are strategies where you can, not deprive your kids because they're kids, but also make a healthier, like more health conscious choice.
Exactly. And another thing we did is for bread, for example, we switched from having the whole wheat like manufactured bread to just switching to sourdough totally.
Nice.
And that was a very good switch.
Awesome. So the calorie tracking, I'm sure for a lot of people is tedious. Have you figured out a way to make it more like routine where it doesn't feel like so much work?
No, it's still very tedious.
Still work. It still
it's
sucks.
still work. It still sucks. Basically, everyone's sitting down eating dinner, and I'm still like weighing out my stuff and tracking it, and then I join them at some point. Yeah, it's work.
I mean, I admire your discipline, but folks are probably thinking that you're doing this all the time. But I will say, I've seen that you deviate from like a super strict diet. So how do you fit that into your macros and calorie intake?
Yeah, so I think that's really important, is that you have to allow yourself the grace to eat how you want at some point, right? You can't
To a certain level, yeah.
Exactly, right? You can't constantly do that. It doesn't.
You can't deprive yourself.
No, because like for example, on the weekends when I'm home, my girls will literally shove food into my face, and I'm not gonna say no, get away from me.
Of course.
I'm gonna eat it. So I just allow myself to have those days where I'm going to eat, I don't know, a cookie or two, or go to Krispy Kreme and have a donut. Allow myself to say it's okay to have those things, but knowing that the next day I'm gonna go right back to what I was doing before.
That's so important.
Yeah, I don't let that derail all my progress.
Do you log that stuff, or do you just count it as a wash and I'll get back?
It depends.
It's hard.
It
to
is
log
hard.
That.
Yeah, it really depends. If I started the day by logging and I knew I was gonna like have a Krispy Kreme donut, I would try it. But like if it gets too much, I just whatever.
Forget about it. I think it's so important what you said, your follow up to that, which is I'm gonna get right back on track tomorrow. I feel like most people, once they, let's say, quote unquote, mess up, let's say it's Friday night, and they're like, well, might as well eat like shit all weekend,
No, you can't
and that's
do that.
such a that's a rationalization that is not serving you, because you can do so much damage over the weekend as opposed to one meal.
Exactly. Like as an example, like we have our irregular lunches, and we go to say like a Texas steakhouse.
North South.
Oh, north south, even better, right? So we'll go there, and I'm not gonna limit myself to say like, oh no, I'm not gonna get a double bacon cheeseburger with a mountain of fries.
Oh yes. Who's getting the fries though? That's the question.
Hopefully Carlos pays next time. So yeah, I'm not gonna limit myself there. So I'm gonna go ahead and enjoy myself, eat my lunch, eat my lunch with the boys, enjoy that time I have with them, and then just for dinner, maybe I won't have a sweet potato, maybe I won't have bread, I'll have asparagus or broccoli or something.
You tighten up a little bit more.
Exactly.
Speaking of that, just briefly, can we touch on like how much you've probably learned about what is in the foods that we tend to eat? And for example, like let's say you have a double bacon cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Like how many calories are in something like that? Sometimes you're eating like a good 2,000 calories easily in one meal.
Yeah. So for example, my calorie deficit, my total calories for the day is 2,400, right?
Okay.
I can blow through that in one meal, 100%, with fries, That burger, maybe I'll get a Coke or something like that. That's
That's
2,400
it.
calories.
Yep,
That's it.
that's it. And that's what I think most people don't realize when they say, I'm trying to lose weight, but it's not happening. I'm trying to make healthy choices. Yes, but when you're not making quote unquote healthy choices of stuff that you're eating, do you really know what's in it? Do you know exactly how much fat, how many calories? Sometimes you could even overeat healthy stuff.
Exactly.
Certain things have a lot of calories too, especially fats. So that's the real benefit of tracking. It's not so much that you're this robot. It's more about awareness. And now you almost know. I'm sure you got to the point now where you know how much chicken, you know more or less.
No, it's
No?
like no,
It's I don't
it's
know.
no. I'm not there yet. I probably have to do this for like a year to where I could see like, oh, that's 4 ounces of chicken.
But I've even seen you before where you look at a plate of food and you're like, I can kind of guesstimate how much is in here, especially if it's like if there's skin on the chicken versus no skin, if it's fried versus boiled or whatever. Like you start learning these things.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important part. Another thing when it comes to, let's say, deviating from your diet, let's say you go out to eat, it's very common for you to go out and enjoy a nice night and then weigh yourself the next day and you're like 4 or 5 pounds heavier. Have you experienced that?
Constantly. I don't know what my body does, but I weigh myself every day, not because I let the scale dictate how I'm going to feel. I just like having that data point. So, for example, if we go out, have a burger, I know that the next day, I minimum is going to be a 5-pound gain. If I'm lucky, maybe a pound, maybe 3 pounds. No matter if I'm active that day or super active, if I ran, no matter what, I just know that my body is going to hold on to that salt and hold on to that water and that bread, and it's just going to increase my weight. But I don't let it ruin my day. I know now that is a temporary gain. It's gonna eventually like even out once the salt leaves and the body just gets back to normal.
Any advice for people, because for some people it does trip them up
Yeah.
and they see that weight. First of all, I'd like to say that it's not fat that you're gaining.
Exactly.
You didn't gain 3 pounds of fat. But even with that knowledge, a lot of times the number is what matters. Oh my God, I'm 3 pounds heavier. So what would you advise from a mindset standpoint to these people?
Well, one thing I learned during this was that a pound of fat is about 3,500 calories,
Yep.
right? So unless you went off the rails, I'm
It
talking
had
about
20,000 calories.
yeah, like there's no way possible you're gonna gain actual 3 pounds of fat. There's no way. I mean, like, what is that? A chocolate peanut butter Haagen-Dazs, a whole pint, a North-South burger, fries, milkshake,
all of it in
all
one
of
day.
it, right?
Yeah.
There's no way. So you just have to acknowledge that you didn't mess up. You'll get back to it. Just keep going, and it'll all go back to normal.
That's good advice. So how has your transformation affected you outside of the gym? Like with your relationships and your everyday life and your confidence and things like that?
Yeah, I definitely know that my confidence is a lot higher.
I mean, you're a sexy mofo, so
thank you.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I mean, it's about time. So I noticed with my wife, she's definitely noticed an improvement, and she's my wife. I said that the other day, and someone didn't get it. Anyway, so
Loser.
and that's definitely been awesome that she would acknowledge that she's noticed a difference. Also, you, for example, I know.
He's about to compliment me, dude. Been waiting the whole time, the whole podcast for this.
For you are very reserved in what you tell people. So I know that if you were to say something about someone's progress, you actually mean it. So I use you as I call it the Julian barometer, right? Am I doing good, right? And if Julian doesn't say anything, then I mean like something's not right. But if Julian does say something like, "Hey, you're like you're looking better," I'm like, all right, we're doing good.
It's a lot of pressure, man.
Yeah.
Because I gotta use my words wisely.
Yeah, don't tell me I'm doing good.
But I do tell people, like, they'll tell me all the time when I compliment them, and they'll say, "Don't lie," and I'm like, "Trust me, I don't lie."
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I wouldn't be telling you.
Yeah, he wouldn't say anything if you were just
Yep.
off the rails. So another confidence thing, I guess, would be like a whole new wardrobe, right? So yeah,
Nice.
so like for example,
These sweet pants you're wearing
yes,
right
these
now.
pants. I lost so much weight that I had to buy new clothes. So being able to like just pick something off the rack and trying on and knowing that it's gonna fit and look good, huge confidence boost.
Absolutely.
Another thing would be my daughters. So I have the energy to play with them. we'll go for a bike ride or we'll go for a walk, or they'll see me running the streets of PSN or Miami Lakes, and they'll be like cheering me on. It's like that is like the biggest joy of my life, to see them cheering me on, to see me run.
Love that, man. And let's be honest, the best part about all this is that you're the fittest dad on the block now, right?
My shorts aren't as short, but we're getting there.
A goal that all dads aspire to be.
Yeah.
You hold the rein in, what is it, Lakes of the Green?
Yeah, Lakes on the Green.
Yeah.
I aspire to be the fittest dad of Lakes on the Green, wearing the shortest shorts.
Now there's going to be a bunch of Lakes on the Green. You're like, oh, what? And on the subject of your daughters, how do they feel about this transformation? Obviously, they've noticed. So do they say anything? I'm really curious to see that.
Yeah, so my youngest daughter, Lucy, she calls me Gordo still, and I ask her, where's Papa Gordo? And she's like, your head. And I'm like, well, good. I'm glad it's there and not my stomach. And then Uncle Carlos, as we call him, he asked the girls. He says, "Do you like your dad fat? Do you like
your dad better
when
he was fat?
or now that he's skinny?" And it's mixed answers depending on
So
how they
funny.
understand it. But overall, they're they want to be like strong like Papa. Work out like Papa, eat like Papa.
And I think it's one of those things where they're not real conscious of it because they're so small, but they are doing so many of these active things that you're doing with them as a parent that they're eventually going to appreciate that, wow, like I was able to do all these things in my childhood because my parents lived this lifestyle. So
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
that's one of the best gifts that you can give your children.
Yeah.
So besides the confidence, are there any other mental or emotional, maybe unexpected changes that you've had besides the obvious physical ones?
Yeah, running is really difficult. It is extremely difficult. It is the hardest thing I ever had to do, right? I'm running out, well, now the weather's changing, but before it was
Thank God.
hot, like super hot. And they have me running, the program I'm following, they have me running 2 hours. Now, if I was heavier and I didn't have the confidence I have, I don't think I could push myself to do that long of a distance, which ends up being about 12, 13 miles. It's really nice that I'm able to push myself further than I thought I'd ever be able to.
And do you think that's translated to other areas of your life, like just how you carry yourself, or whether you want to take on certain challenges, maybe at work or something like that, where like, hey, I freaking ran 10 miles, I could do this.
Yeah, I'm not shying away from things as I used to. I definitely try to stand out, and I take on harder tasks knowing that, like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to, do my best. I'm going to try and succeed. But if I fail, I'm going to try and do it a different way and just make sure that I get to the finish line.
That's what I love about once you make these habits, and you prove to yourself that you can do these things, because it's almost like the momentum is on your side. You understand that, okay, this is hard, but I can do it. And then you realize, okay, now next time it's not that hard, and you can do more and more and more and more. And that just carries on with like everything else you do in life.
Yeah, I think the hardest part of anything is just getting started.
Yep. And I tell that to people all the time when they're just starting the gym. It's like, do not quit when it gets tough after a few weeks, when you're sore, when you miss a day, when you get sick or whatever. It's very tempting to just take 2, 3, 4 days off. That turns into a week. And once you get off the wagon, it's so much harder. It's just like, you got to think about it as momentum.
Exactly.
You got to keep the ball rolling. So I want to finish the podcast by talking about advice and any takeaways that you may have for someone who wants to make a transformation. But before that, I wanted to give a shout out to Cricket, our very own trainer here at BFit Miami Lakes Cricket, because
Beatrice.
she, aka Beatrice, but nobody calls her that, because she, I feel like, I mean, you can attest to this, but she was just as motivated and disciplined and almost like your training partner all along this journey, pretty much, especially during the last challenge. So talk to me about that. How important is it to have an accountability partner who is just, you guys are pushing each other constantly?
So I'm training for this half marathon. I asked B, I said, hey, do you want to do this with me? And she didn't really commit, which is fine because she already had done a half marathon before. But that didn't stop her from going on all the runs with me. So I have this training plan that's 3 days a week. And we would meet here at 5:30, 6 a.m.
Even on a Sunday.
Even in the Rick and Fricker.
Yep. Rain or shine.
Literally rain
Yeah,
or shine.
yeah.
Heat, bugs, anything. we would make sure that we would communicate that we're gonna run, and then we just stuck to it. It's been huge because there are times when I don't really feel like doing it, and then she's like, no, no, come on, just show up. And then there are other times where trying to get her to wake up and go, and then she may be like kind of grumpy in the morning, but after the run she's like, thank you so much. Without you, I wouldn't have been able to do this.
I love that. And I think the biggest challenge there is finding someone who is just as disciplined, but you're not robots. It's one or the other on any given day is gonna not really feel up to the task, and that's where you have each other there. But I think what happens to most people is one, you want to work out with your buddy, and it might start for a few weeks, everything's great, and then your buddy starts kind of like slacking. So I think it's part like luck that you guys kind of found each other,
Yeah.
but I think it's awesome. And seeing it from the outside, and the fact that she's a trainer, and I'm super proud of her for just like her discipline,
Yep.
but the way that she could push people, but also like sometimes she needs a push too. So
Exactly.
I think it's great.
Yeah, and also not to leave out Nat. She's in that group as well. She is the ultimate motivator.
She's the robot.
Yeah. I don't know how she does it, but she's here every day but Tuesday and Sunday because she's running with us on Sunday. But she just, that's her thing. She makes it a point that she's gonna, exercise. That's her thing, and we say we're gonna run, and she's gonna be there right there with us. It's
Love that.
awesome.
I love that. If you have people like that, those are like your rock that like keeps the group grounded, especially like 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
You see people come and go to that class,
Oh, yeah,
but
100%.
you three have been constant, and then I love that. It's so admirable. Okay, so now to the takeaways and advice. What would you say to someone who's just starting their journey and maybe they know that they have an uphill battle, like they're very overweight, they're very out of shape, and you know the mental struggles that come with that. So what would your advice be?
I would say just start getting in the mindset that you want to change where you're at right now. This doesn't have to be something that's going to happen overnight, right? You just have to get the mindset that you want to change where you're at. You have to, and then write it down. I'd say write down like, what do you want to see in a month? What do you want to see in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years? Just write it down so you have a point of reference. Maybe take a picture of yourself so you can revert back to it and see where you started and where you end up. Another good thing I'd say is take one thing that you eat a day. Say maybe for lunch you have, I don't know, fried chicken. I don't know anyone that's having fried chicken for lunch, but just say you are,
Lucky.
right? Yeah, pretty sweet. But say that's your lunch. You go to like KFC and you have a fried chicken sandwich every day for lunch. Okay, so a simple change would be, instead of fried chicken, get grilled chicken, right? You're not changing much. You're just changing the amount of calories you're consuming. And say you have like a Coke or a Pepsi or a Gatorade. Maybe try a Diet Coke, or maybe try unsweetened iced tea. Something that you're not changing too much too fast, but the changes over time will be more noticeable.
I think that's good advice. And just to kind of go back, because maybe we didn't give enough context, this isn't your first time trying to make a lifestyle change, right? So you didn't, yes, right now at the beginning of this year, you changed everything. It was all at once, like an all encompassing change. But what you're saying is you don't have to start like that. Like you don't have to take on so much because it could be overwhelming. You can just make a few little changes here and there.
Exactly. Another thing you could do is you can start, like, say you can't run, right? Running is very difficult. Start by walking. I know that a lot of people are exposed to social media, and it's really unhealthy for people because you only get a little glimpse of the overall
The
picture.
0.1% of people who are doing insane things.
Exactly,
I'll never
right?
get to that.
So you get exposed to that, and they have a very like a filter on their life, right? You see them only succeed, or you only see them the good parts of it, right?
Yeah, the highlights.
Exactly. So what I'm trying to say is, don't compare your life to that, because that's not real. So your story is not their story, and you can't look at it to where how you're going to base your life on.
I agree with that. And it's all relative, right?
Exactly.
It's like maybe the person you're seeing on social media was always lean.
Exactly.
But somebody else may have lost 100 pounds, and maybe that final version of themselves doesn't look like a fitness magazine type of body, but relatively, that's a crazy accomplishment, you know? So I completely agree. And one of the things I really like that you said is that instead of, because it could be daunting to think I have to lose 50 pounds, right? But what you said in the beginning is just only compare yourself to what you were when you started the journey. Like maybe when you started, you can only walk for 20 minutes, but now you're walking for 35 minutes. That's a huge change.
Huge.
Like focus on the change that you've made, not on how much further you have to go.
Yeah. And you also have to remember, it's literally a journey. I mean, the fitness journey, a transformation journey. It's not called the fitness sprint or the fitness dash. You know, it's gonna take time. You know, it took time for you to, you know, get that way for, you know, whatever reason, whatever may have happened. It's gonna take time to, you know, get back to, you know, what you think you need to be. And
even when you get there, sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah, no
even
problem.
when you quote unquote get there, you never really get there. You're
Exactly.
still going. That's what
Yeah.
people don't understand. That's why it's a journey. It's because you're constantly switching things up, or things might come up. And there's this idea that when I get to my goal, like I'm gonna be happy, I'm gonna be XYZ. But when you get to your goal, you're only gonna realize now I have another goal,
Exactly.
or this is my lifestyle now.
Exactly. And I think another good thing is that it's your story. You get to write the pages in the book of your story, how you went from, say, you know, weighing 250 pounds to now weighing 213. You get to tell people your story, and there's a lot of value in that. You don't want to short circuit that process.
Absolutely.
Is it your butt or my butt?
So is there anything that you would, if you can talk to your past self, is there anything that you'd say to old Will?
Yeah, don't stop exercising no matter what. Don't let food rule your life.
Love it. And that goes hand in hand with what Vic especially always tells people, don't stop. That's the best advice you can give. Don't stop. Whatever's going on in your life, maybe you can't do an hour, maybe you can do 15 minutes, but just don't stop.
Exactly.
Don't dig yourself into a hole.
But also too, you know, if you do stop, just next day get right back to
Exactly.
it. You know?
Yeah. Don't stop for like
Yeah.
a long, extended period of time. Take a break.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's next for you? What's next for you as far as your next goal? Where are you going now?
Yeah, so my half marathon's in December 8th. I hope to see everyone out there with some fun signs.
I'll be there.
Yep, awesome. And then after that, I think in January, we're going to stop this fat loss phase, and we're going to start putting back on muscle, because
Let's go.
it's really not
Bulking,
fun.
baby.
Yeah, it's really not fun to like be stronger and then go to be weaker. Like to gain some strength back.
It's a good point, because I'm sure a lot of people don't realize that when you're cutting so frequent, like you're cutting your calories and you're in a cutting phase for extended periods of time, there is a little bit of a strength loss. Even though you might look better, you look leaner, but there's a reason why power lifters and strongmen, those guys weigh 300-400 pounds. They bulk up and they literally get stronger.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's gonna be an enjoyable phase for you, I think.
All the carbs,
All of them.
all of them.
So besides that, is there anything else that you'd like to leave our listeners with? Any advice or just anything that you'd like as a closing statement?
Yeah, I think if you are unhappy with, you know, how you look, how you feel, you want to start exercising, I think you just need to start. You just need to find a resource, find a community that works for you, and that's the hardest part. Once you start, don't stop, as you know we mentioned, and then look to the community to kind of, you know, keep your motivation up. And as soon as you start going on that path and things start clicking, it's going to get easier, and you're going to start noticing differences, and then it's just going to be an overall better life for you.
That'll motivate you even more, and then like we said, the momentum just keep going in your favor.
Yeah, definitely.
So when are you going to become a trainer?
Oh, got to take that test.
Take the test, baby. All right.
Also, I never took Wegovy or Ozempic.
Yes.
This has been
Important
hard
disclaimer.
work.
Nothing against the GLP-1s like Ozempic, but
Wait,
this
is
is
that
not
appropriate? GLP-1?
Yeah, that's what they're called.
Oh, fair.
But yeah, this was all natural. Not that there's anything against that, but
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
nowadays, you know how it is. People see you lose weight, and it's like, oh, you must be on the pick. So important disclaimer. But anyway, Will, thank you so much, man. Like you've honestly been a huge inspiration, not just for myself and for the trainers, but for many of our members. and your hard work, your dedication, all of that good stuff. It's honestly, it's rare. It's rare. So it's even motivated us that we're supposed to be like, the ones teaching people to do it. So I commend you, and thanks again for being on the podcast, man. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
And I
Thank
hope you guys enjoyed this. We're going to be doing more interviews. Please show some love to my boy Will here in the comments. I know you all appreciate him as much as I do. And we'll see you in the next one. Oh, we got a toast. Nostrovia.
Cheers.
Because, we're in Russia collusion now.